This recording is for going through an MBE question. I'm racking it from, let's start with doing the call of the question first, going up to the fact pattern, then go straight down. The call of the question is, if the contractor sues the homeowner for the balance of the contract price, will the contractor be likely to prevail? From this, you should gather that it's a contracts question, and the contract, okay, there we go. You should gather that it's a contracts question, and that that it deals with wanting damages, so there may be a breach involved as well. So what you want to do is make note that it's a contracts question, and you would be thinking of damages, breach. At this point, you don't know exactly what yet, but that's probably a pretty good guess for you to take with you up to the fact pattern. Then at the fact pattern, and of course, you would be going faster than I am, but these would be the things that you would highlight. They want the balance of the contract price. Because it says contractor here as well, I would say that it's reasonable for you to think this is a construction contract, but you don't need to make that decision now. The reason why that's important is you identify it as being common law. Remember, I said usually when you're identifying the subject as a contracts question, you want to shift your brain to the UCC outline if you recognize that it's a UCC question. So the next thing that you want to do is to identify whether or not this is a common law or UCC problem. If it's UCC, as I said, you have to shift your brain to the UCC outline, because our brain tends to default to common law. And that could lead you down the wrong path if it is a sale of goods question. But here, again, you see the homeowner, which means that that's a good hint that this is a construction contract. It confirms what you thought of before as construction contracts of common law. That gets confirmed for renovating the kitchen for $25,000. Subject to the homeowner's complete personal satisfaction. That should bring red flags. It should just have bells ringing in your head, because it's a indication that you've got a condition precedent. When you're thinking of that, you would think a condition precedent, that means it needs to occur before obligation is required. This should be in the back of your mind. You don't have to write it out on your materials, but these would be the things that would be running through your mind. Or it's excused in some way, which means it's waived or prevented from occurring. That can force the other party to perform even if the condition has not occurred. So well, let's see if we can kind of make it where this is a little nicer. Maybe we'll just shift all of this over. Never mind. So yes, so maybe we'll just make the margin over here a little bit to make it nicer. And so that is very important to take note. Then the contractor replaced the cabinets, flooring, all the stuff he performed. The homeowner paid the contractor only $20,000 truthfully saying that she did not like the finish and the cabinets and was therefore not satisfied. Truthfully, usually when they give you more than what you would need, in a sense, where there are lots of adjectives or it goes on and on, there's a hint that it will turn on your, it could change your analysis, or it's a hint that that's an important fact for your final analysis. So then at this point, you would think the contractor replaced the cabinet, so he did what he was supposed to do. The homeowner is supposed to pay him $25,000. She paid him only $20,000. The question is, did she breach? And the answer is the condition, she would only breach if the condition has occurred. The condition is that it is subject to her complete personal satisfaction. That is a really important point to know as far as the facts go, complete personal satisfaction. That means that it's subjective, and the fact that she truthfully believes that it is not to her liking. She did it in good faith by saying, I don't like it. If for some reason the facts say that she's trying to get out of paying by claiming that she doesn't like it, then of course you would not want to allow her to recover. But in this case, the condition has not occurred based on the facts. So I would be biased towards no at first, because the condition has not occurred. Let's look at the no's. No, because the condition of obligation to pay was not satisfied. That looks pretty good. No, because the contractor breaches duty of good faith and fair dealing by supplying. No, that's not true. He gave her what he thought was good work. She just personally did not like it. This is the key. It's not that he did a bad job. It's just not to her taste. At least not enough anyway. She did pay some, just not all. She's not completely satisfied. So A is still looking pretty good. The answer choice C, yes, because the homeowner breached the covenant of good faith and fair dealing by rejecting the cabinets without justification. Well, the homeowner breached the covenant of good faith and fair dealing. That goes against this truthfully fact that's given to you, because she is rejecting it out of good faith. She's not faking it. So I would say no, that goes directly against the fact pattern, which means it's probably not the best answer choice, especially if we are liking A based on our IRAC-ing so far. Yes, because the homeowner was the first party to breach the contract. This has nothing to do with recovery of damages. When you think of the rule for recovering damages, nowhere do we care about who does what first. That's more mortgages and priorities in secure transactions. So I would say that doesn't look good, and A should be the correct answer. And in fact, A is the correct answer, because I have looked at the answer before. So let me pause the video and then we can go through, and I'll try to make a note of when we the timestamp on the video when I do post it on YouTube. Now we will go through the question from top to bottom, and I rack it. A homeowner contracted in writing with a kitchen contractor to renovate her kitchen. for $25,000, subject to the homeowner's complete personal satisfaction. The things to make note at this point is the homeowner contracted, that's a to renovate, that's a construction contract subject to the homeowner's complete personal satisfaction. That's a condition precedent. So at this point, there is enough information there, I believe, for you to get a good sense of what you're being tested on. You've got a construction contract, which means this is common law. Remember that when you identify the subject to be construction, identify the subject to be contract, you need to then identify whether or not it's common law or UCC, because you need to shift your brain to the UCC outline if you are in a contract question, because our mind tends default to the common law, and if you have a question about UCC, that can throw you off. But the idea is you've got common law, you've got a condition precedent, and you should know then that the condition precedent, the general rule in the back of your mind, you should be thinking that you need to have it met before performance is required, unless it is waived or excused. The contractor replaced the cabinets, did what he was supposed to do, and sought payment for the homeowner. The homeowner paid the contractor only. Well, that's not good. That's she didn't perform her part. Truthfully, make a note of that, because whenever they give you adjectives or more adjectives than you normally would care to, well, that you see them adding more adjectives than may be necessary, then you would want to make a note of that. That's a hint that your analysis could turn on those adjectives. Same thing with if they go on and on about a specific fact, you should really make a note of that. Quotation marks, things in quotation marks as well, numbers, not always, but most of the time. If the contractor sues the homeowner for the balance of the contract price, will the contractors be likely to prevail? So our rule was, at this point, I would think the condition is subject to her satisfaction, her personal satisfaction. So I'm thinking that it's okay that she did not perform because the condition did not occur. So my bias would be that it is a no. And if you look at the no, then no, because a condition to pay was not satisfied. That's exactly our analysis. The condition precedent, you need to have it be met before the condition is before performance is required. So that looks like a pretty good answer. For B, no, because the contractor breaches duty of good faith and fair dealing by supplying unsatisfactory materials. That can't be the claim, because he did perform, it just was not to the homeowner's satisfaction. So he did his job, it just isn't to her taste. Yes, because the homeowner breached the covenant of good faith and fair dealing. The truthfully in the fact says that she was doing it in good faith. So that would not match up with the fact pattern, what the bar examiners are telling you. Yes, because the homeowner was the first party to breach the contract. That is irrelevant to breaching of the contract. So in the analysis, you don't worry about who breaches first. That comes into play when you're looking at order, that comes into play more in property, like the first in time, first in right, in the recording statutes, in the mortgages, as well as for personal property with the secure transaction. So I would say no, and you've got the answer A. I'm going to clean this up, and then we can go over then the third way of IRAC-ing a question, an MBE question, and that is to, well, I'll introduce it when I have this all cleared up. Let me see if I can do this without pausing the video. All right, so I am getting better at this, aren't I? Okay. All right, so let's just delete everything. I'm going to go ahead and leave that. Again, I'll try to timestamp where these things occur. Now we are going to go through the MBE question by using the method of reading the call of the question first, going through the answer choices, then going back up to the fact pattern to do our final IRAC. The call of the question is if the contractor sues the homeowner for the balance of the contract price, then will the contractor be likely to prevail? This you can gather from here that you've got a contracts question, construction, which means common law, and there's wanting damages. You may not feel comfortable concluding yet that this is a construction contract. It's really for your comfort level, how many MBEs you've done for you to feel comfortable concluding that here, but you can at least get into that frame mind because it's talking about contract price. You should also, again, think damages, breach would be all the issues you should identify from here. And depending on your comfort level with the subject, you may just have it be, is this what it is? And that's okay too. Just get into as much of the realm where they're testing you for you to be able to get to the correct answer. The first answer choice is no, because a condition of the owner's obligation to pay was not satisfied. So this is testing you on condition precedent. We don't know if that is we don't know if that is correct, depending on the fact pattern. Then no, because the contractor breached its duty of good faith and fair dealing by supplying unsatisfactory material. This deals with good faith and fair dealing. And again, we don't know yet. It depends on the fact pattern. Yes, because the homeowner breached the covenant of good faith and fair dealing by rejecting the covenants. It's dealing with good faith and fair dealing. The important difference between the two is one is the contractor is the bad person, and two is the homeowner is the bad person. So we'll have to see which one, but you can see that these two are similar. Yes, because the homeowner was the first party to breach the contract. I would eliminate this if I hadn't seen the fact pattern yet, because being a first party to breach the contract, that has never been a factor for determining damages or breach. So I would not consider that whenever I'm going through a contracts analysis. So I would feel comfortable crossing that out. If you guys don't, then at least make a note that this is not the best when we have some other viable answer choices here. Then you go to the fact pattern and say, it says a homeowner contracted with the contractor to renovate her kitchen for $25,000. Now we can, I think, safely assume that this is a construction contract, so common law, and there's the homeowner and the contractor. Condition subject to the homeowner's complete personal satisfaction. This one goes to that condition precedent that we had identified. And there's a condition. Now, at this point, I would say this is where you would identify the that they're testing you on a condition precedent. And the rule is the condition must be met before performance is required. Unless, and this is the exception to the rule, unless the condition is excused. And that's if it's waived or if it has been prevented from occurring. So that performance. This is why I recommend you guys on the MPTs to do all your reading and planning and thinking before writing things out, because it tends to be that when you are multitasking, you make a lot of mistakes. So you want to really compartmentalize and do the division of labor when you're working. In any case, then the contractor replaced the cabinets. So the contractor performed and then is asking for money. Here, when it says he replaced the cabinets, there are no facts, there's no indication that he did anything in bad faith, because if he had, they would need to give it to you in the fact itself. That's strange. In the fact itself. And that hasn't been the case. So we would want to cross out the B. Cross that out because there's no indication of his bad faith. Then the homeowner paid the contractor only $20,000. Now she did not pay the whole thing, so she did not pay the whole thing. So that is an indication that she maybe have breached. We'll have to see her reasoning behind it. And it says truthfully saying that she did not like the finish. So truthfully is important whenever they use adjectives or when they go on and on about a fact. That's an indication that it may turn the analysis because she's claiming truthfully that it's not to her personal satisfaction, then you want to make a note of that and think that's not a showing of bad faith either. So you would get to the A answer choice in this way. Okay, guys, sorry, I am finding the best way to do some of this. Probably will have a better way to do it as I do more of these. As I said, I haven't been recording and putting them on YouTube. I usually do this with my students that I coach, and it goes much faster on paper and such. So, and I use a different format, not Zoom. So that is tricky because I can do the screening. But I will upload this and put a timestamp on it as well. Thank you so much for watching.